I'm 𝗂𝗂𝗄𝗿, a recognized thought leader in the Microsoft Dynamics community and a Microsoft MVP for business applications. Welcome to the Get Your New View podcast. Keep listening to learn how we work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers that they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better business decisions, and even love their system.
The next thing that we're going to be talking about are the financial reporting improvements from the 2024 Wave 2 release. I'm particularly excited about being able to present these ones because it's possible I may have had a little bit of input with Microsoft with this particular set of features. It's something that I've been advocating for a long time, and I'm very glad to see them being incorporated into the product for you to use. I am going to demo this live in the Business Central system so that you guys can see what these new reports are all about. So I'm switching my screen to a current version of the new sandbox so you can see what these look like in the version 25 release 2. So the most recent one that came out a month or so ago. For those of you who are not perhaps accountants or financial reporting people, and you haven't seen these before, you can easily get to these by looking for financial reporting. For those who have used these for many years or who are using this with an older version of the software, you'll remember that these were called account schedules in the past. And Microsoft mercifully renamed these to financial reporting, which made a whole lot more sense to most accountants. In the Cronus database, which is a demonstration database you can make available, we have these 5 new reports. These new reports are examples that are in the demonstration database to show you exactly what some of those possibilities are with more financial reporting. So all of the ones that I've not highlighted on the screen there are reports that have existed for quite a few years in the demonstration database. Some of them work and some of them don't work. The thing that I'm excited about with the ones that I've highlighted is that these ones do work and they are mapped to the chart of accounts in the Cronus database. If you have ever been told that you cannot produce financial reporting inside of Business Central, that is wrong. This capability has existed for a long time, but it's not very intuitive. I think that people really just needed some more examples to show them how they could create these on their own. When we talk about financial reporting in Business Central, we really have 3 parts that we're talking about. And on this screen, all of those parts are represented, that we have the report. So each line represents a report. And then we have a row definition and a column definition. All 3 of those parts are things that you can customize completely on your own without the assistance of your partner. This is something that you as a financial or IT end user absolutely can build to match your chart of accounts and how your company wants to see your financials presented. These examples do a great job of showing not only how can we present some of those financials in a different way than we've seen before, but how can we also introduce flexibility with the way that those are presented. The row definitions are basically the GL accounts that are in your reports. So if we think about a trial balance, we will have a single GL account per line in a trial balance. When we think about our balance sheet or income statement, those are always going to be groups of accounts that are organized into a financial report. So that's what the row definition is defining, is what appears on the rows in your financial reports. When we think about the column definitions, most commonly, those things are reflecting periods of time. So we may have something as simple as what is the balance as of today, or what is the net change for this period, or we may have something more complex where we have a trend over 12 months, or where we may have comparatives. So this month versus last month, or this month versus the year to date, or the current month versus budget, and the year to date versus budget and budget remaining. all of those column definitions. And I forgot to count, but I think that there's about 15 or 20 of them that are new. These are pre-built in the Cronus database so that you don't have to build them. This is a great way for you to get ideas about how you want to structure your own financial reports. But honestly, just steal them. They're in the Cronus database and they're there for you to use as an example. So I would make sure that, first of all, you have access to the newest version of a Cronus database and go in there and steal those setups so that you could use those on your own financial reports, because you're going to find that you have some great capabilities once you start using those for your own financial reports. Let's show you what you can do with some of these. And I'm just going to do a quick tour of some of these so you can see them. Feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat or in Q&A as I go here, and I'll pause to take those questions. Let's start with our simplest report of all, our trial balance. If I choose to simply view our trial balance, I can open this up and, I'm going to do one thing before I do this. I'm going to change my work date. This is a quick little trick that allows you to set your work date for a particular period of time so that you don't have to change it all the time. So I'm going to do that for my little demo database here. And when I open up this report, this is going to automatically open that up for my year end. When I open up this particular report, this is going to use this layout, which is our beginning balance, debits, credits, and ending balance. And this seems like such a simple thing, but it's something that didn't exist in the database as an example previously. And it's something that I've had many, many customers ask me to create for them. This is a great example of something that our more traditional accountants like to use as they're doing reconciliations from the trial balance. Just being able to have that different view that we haven't had an example of is a great application for the trial balance. But the other thing that I'll point out is when we look at our column definitions, let's open this up. I have this sorted, or I'm going to sort this by the description. Anything that has BS, so balance sheet, in front of it, IS for income statement, and trial balance. These are all of the new layouts that are available in the Cronus database. So I could choose to always use the default, or I could choose to use any of these others. So if I want to look at my trial balance just for the current month, I can simply choose to change that here, and I can see the trial balance for December of 2023, or I could choose a different option where I could say, let's take a look at the 12 months trending for my trial balance. So if I make this a little bit wider, I can very quickly switch to this particular view. Dennis, I love seeing you cheering for a good trial balance. That cracks me up. But I do too, because this is the basic stuff that people who use Business Central need in your system when they are creating their financial reporting. And all of these things are built for you instead of you having to go to Microsoft Learn and figure it out for yourself. Let's get out of the trial balance and look at something a little bit more deeply. Let's look at our balance sheet. Now there's two examples here. There's a detailed and a summarized. Now I'll be the first person to tell you that the summarized view of the balance sheet is very summarized, right? We've got assets, liabilities, and equity in a check figure, okay? So if you want a very quick measure of what's going on with your balance sheet, this is it. But if you want something a little bit more complex, let's look at our detailed balance sheet. The reason I like this detailed balance sheet is it is categorized. So we're looking at groups of accounts, but it's not simply a subcategorized trial balance. So when I think about good financial reports, I want to have them summarized at a level where somebody can take a look at that report and answer a question based off of a one-page view of what's happening with their financial conditions. And this type of report does that, where I can see what's happening with maybe 8 categories of assets instead of 80 accounts with a title above them. All of these reports have a good categorization of those accounts. Let me see if I can find one that has a few accounts in it. I don't have a whole lot of balances in my demo database to work with, so I'm going to take a chance here. Here we go. So inventory. These are all of the inventory accounts that are included in this one account for inventory. So I can see how these are mapped to my own chart of accounts by clicking in that. And if I go over to the right here, I can see which of these are contributing to that balance. And of course, I can drill into the results from that spot. So I've got strong drill down capabilities and summarized presentation of financial reports right here in these reports. Just like all of the other ones, I can switch and take a look at the column definition options here. This one is giving me the current month net change versus the prior month net change, but I could choose to take a look at my 12-month balance trending, right? So if I wanted to take a look at what's happening with the trends over 12 months with my balance sheet, this is a tool that accountants ask for all the time. Because when we look at our balance sheet or our income statement, we want to see how things are changing over time. And in particular with the balance sheet, we want to know what's the balance of this account or this group of accounts at this particular month-end date. When we look at our income statement, we want to see what's the net change, what's the activity for each month as things have changed. So all of that is built in to allow you to see those type of things. I had mentioned the comparatives earlier. If I'm looking at the comparatives, I can see the current month versus the prior month, or the current month versus the same month the prior year. So great options there to really be able to walk through and see some different layouts for things. You'll see I change my wide layout view versus narrow layout view depending on what I'm looking at, right? Because if I have 12 months of information, I really want to see that wide layout view. But if I'm looking at only a couple of months, so I'm looking year over year with January here, then I want to be able to make that more narrow. These reports really make the financial reporting inside Business Central a much more interactive tool where you can be using this not just at the month end, but throughout the month as you accumulate the real-time results of the financial transactions that are being recorded in your system. So I get pretty excited about these kind of things when I walk through these and see such great presentation. Another feature I'll point out is every single one of these reports includes a check figure at the bottom. If you've ever wondered if your balance sheet balances and you've had to dump that into Excel and evaluate that to see if your accounting equation is supported, that check figure answers that question for you. So I will often find that I'll run down to the bottom of the report real quick and take a look at that to make sure that nothing is shown up in there. Why would that happen, right? Why in our reports would we ever have one come through that is not in balance? And the answer for that is user error. Just like anything, we can make a mistake when we're setting up reports. And I'll show you one way that you can prevent it. And these reports are also set up to prevent those type of errors. Business Central does not dynamically pick up new accounts. So if you add to the chart of accounts a new account, one of the next actions that you should do is really head on over to your financial reports and make sure that those accounts are included. But an even better way to do that is to set this up so that you can't have that problem. I'm going to go behind the scenes here and we're going to edit this particular row definition to see what's set up behind the scenes here. And you'll notice, for those of you who haven't seen this before, this is the design of this particular balance sheet report. And this shows us all of the formulas and all of the things that make up this particular report. But if you take a moment to notice the account ranges that are in here, all of the account ranges in here cover every single possible account in that range from 1 to 9,999. If you are someone who's designing these reports and you make sure that all of the possible accounts are included, then you don't have to worry about that with the exception of your trial balance, which is the one report that you'll have where you have single reports for each account. That's a great feature to be aware of with this design and a great best practice for people to start using with their financial reports, that including that allows us to have fewer errors and really makes those check figures unnecessary, but it's good to still include them anyways. So let's go a little bit deeper into our income statement reports because we have a whole lot here to choose from. Our summarized income statement report, just like the summarized balance sheet, is quite high level, right? So if I take a look at this, this is giving me revenue, cost of goods, margin, net income and loss, and a check figure. So just a quick check if you want to just drill into your numbers very fast just to see where things are going. I like the detailed income statement the best here. So if I take a look at this, and I was playing around with this earlier, so I'm going to change this so that I have the correct report showing. Here we go. This is our detailed income statement. This particular detailed income statement is categorized, just like the balance sheet was. So I can see my numbers that are included here. If I drill into them, I can see the mapping behind all of the accounts that are included behind the scenes. I have drill down capability to go all the way to the transactions that create them. And I'm including a calculation for margin, my net income and loss, and then a check figure at the bottom. All the basics that you need for your income statement. I will note that in this case, Microsoft has chosen not to use presentation format, that they're using natural accounting sign for revenue. So since revenue is a credit balance, sometimes we will present this as a positive value. I will tell you that that format and a few more are coming in a future release. So there are some good things and quite a few things I can't talk about yet that are coming in a future release that will be absolutely fantastic and a continued improvement with financial reporting. But in this case, the exciting part is all of the column definitions that come along with this particular income statement. So if I go back to my list here, and if you take note, in fact, I'll take a moment just to highlight these ones. These are all of the new income statement formats that are available for the new income statement. So we have just a simple net change. So what is the activity for just this month? We have net change comparatives. So current month versus the prior month. We also have current month versus the same month in the prior year. We also have comparison against budget. In fact, I'll bring this one up so you can see that one. Looks like we don't have a budget in this database, but that's okay. If you can imagine some budget numbers in these columns here, this report is really useful because not only do we have current month versus budget with the variance and the year to date versus budget and the variance, but these last two columns are telling us what is the total budget. So if we had a budget loaded in here for this line, I would have the total budget number for my revenue for the year reflected here and how much budget is remaining. So this answers a key question that accountants get all the time, which is, hey, Carrie, how much money is left in my budget? Well, I could say this report that you can look at on your own in the system shows you exactly how much budget is remaining. And that applies whether it's revenue, so really forecast, right? Are we meeting our revenue? If we look at our operating expenses, are we within the parameters of what we planned? So, and I love Carrie's comment there, on your own. I always encourage my customers to teach people to view their financial reports on their own. And I know that sometimes that is just not going to happen depending on those other stakeholders. So it's a good thing that there are lots of ways that we can push these reports out to them so they don't have to do it on their own. But for those folks in your organization who are financially savvy, and especially for those folks who are anxious financial people, right? They want to know what the results are, and they might bug you, hey, are the numbers done yet? Are the numbers done yet? Are the numbers done yet? They can log in here and they can look at that as they go. Great options for them to be able to see things in a whole bunch of different ways with these new reports. Oh, and just like we had with the other report with balance sheet, we've got our check figure at the bottom. I want to show you one more thing that you're going to start seeing emphasized more and more with the financial reports, and that's the use of Excel templates. One of the things with financial reports is that actually producing them out of the system has always been clunky. This particular part of this feature has changed quite a bit from version to version, which has tied some finance people up in knots before, because there's so many things that they have to keep track of as the versions change. But I believe that Microsoft has settled on the concept of the Excel template. I'm going to set up just a little demonstration here for you so you can see what this looks like. So if I'm using my detailed income statement here, I want to make sure that I'm using the format that I wanted to here. And I'm going to pretend that it is October, that I'm going to produce some financials. Now I have this set up already, so I'm going to pop this open and show this to you. But what you can do is you could choose to export your financials using an Excel template. Now I'll tell you that you can use the share button, right, where you open this in Excel, and you're going to get something that looks like this. Definitely not what we want. Oh, and I forgot to hit that with formatting here. But really, this is not what we want, right? We want our nicely formatted financial reports. So if you do this for the first time, if you create a new Excel template and you open this up, this still doesn't look great. You can see that I don't have any commas and it just looks ugly. So what I can do is I can set things up in the background so that I have a template that I could use. And when I go to do my November financials, I can simply update my numbers. Okay, so for those of you who are finance people and want to watch this, take note of one of these numbers here, because we're going to update this for November using our template, because I want you to see how easy it is to do this. If I'm in Business Central and I change to my next period, I'm in November, so you see my numbers are different. This time, instead of creating a template, I'm going to use a template that I've already created. I'm going to update this template with some data. So I just have to browse to wherever I kept this and open this up. This is going to ask me where I want this to go to. Now, my secret is that I have two reports in this workbook, a balance sheet and income statement, that are linked to these tabs that contain this data. So every time I refresh my numbers or publish my financials, I choose the data tab for this and say, okay. And now when this opens up and I hit enable editing, now I have a nicely formatted report with November numbers in it. You'll see that all I had to do was change to my report inside Business Central and then export this to my already existing template. I haven't updated the balance sheet tab on this yet, but you could do this for an unlimited number of tabs. I think when I was a controller, I had about 18 tabs. I had 18 different reports that I would update with the numbers in here. And it was a nice, fast, efficient way to be able to produce my financials without having to dump a trial balance into something, reformat it, have things look a little different from one month to the next. These reports look really nice when I produce them. So if I show you just a quick little print preview of this, you can count on having your reports looking like a nicely formatted report in any way that you choose every time. Every month, this is going to look the same, but with your new numbers. The use of those Excel templates is becoming more and more important in the financial reporting area of Business Central. I can tell you that some of the new improvements that are also coming out in future releases will use some of these templates going forward. As you're making your plans for how to produce your financial reports, I would encourage you to use the financial reporting that's inside Business Central. It's quick, it's interactive. You can use the drill down features. They're wickedly accurate. You're not going to have problems with a query or question being written in a slightly different way and having it not tied to your GL. And you really can do it yourself if you're a financial professional. So the only limitation that I really think that is critical with these reports is that they only report on your general ledger. And that's important to know. These are not going to get into your subledgers, and they're not going to report against non-financial measures, things like quantity. So that's something to keep in mind. But when it comes to building your financial reports, they are perfectly adequate and can really get the job done as long as you take the time to learn about these and build them. The thing that I didn't show about this, because of course we don't have unlimited time to talk about financial reporting, is that financial reports can incorporate dimensions in an incredible way. And once you start adding dimensions into your financial reports, you have so much additional reporting power that can be included, where you can include dimensions on either the rows or the columns or in combination, that you really move beyond the realm of strictly financial reporting into operational reporting. I'm very excited to show those to you today, and I hope that you find some use for those new report examples with your own businesses to be able to build your own financial reporting in Business Central. All right, I'll open things up for questions. Anybody have some questions about financial reporting in Business Central?
Here, I'll ask you a question. Out of all of the reports that are now in there, is there a report that is not a typical report that people might run that you like to look at? Maybe something just outside of, the normal income statement view or balance sheet view. Is there one that you are really excited about?
I know all of the income statement and balance sheet ones are the new ones. So there are some other reports that are related to cash flow in there. And I would say that the one caution that I would have is they're good examples of reports, but they're not mapped properly to the chart of accounts in the Cronus demo database. So it's a qualified recommendation, right? Use the examples because they do work and they're correct, but they are not mapped to the existing chart of accounts in the demo database. So as long as you map those correctly to your chart of accounts, then that can be a good way to get started on a statement of cash flows, because you can build a statement of cash flows as well.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a lot of people struggle with where to even begin with that. So that's good to know that structure is there.
Awesome. Holly says she's excited to see comparative definitions in 𝗍𝗶𝗄𝗏. Absolutely. That is something that should have been there for a long time. And I'm glad to see that Microsoft is just making it easy for you guys to pull those out of the example database.
Did your team ever really get good training to understand how to use your business software? Do you think you could use more features of your software if you just knew how? Are you frustrated with inefficiency that never seems to get better? Do you suspect that there just has to be a better way, but you don't know what that is? We believe every company can benefit from increased efficiency and higher utilization of their software, and that it's possible to have fun while learning exactly how to do that. The experts at 𝗎𝗎 Strategies work with frustrated Business Central and NAV users who struggle to use their system and find the answers they need. We teach them to truly understand how the system can support their business processes to make immediate and lasting improvements. As a result, they get more done in less time, make better decisions, and even love their system. Please contact us at getyournewview.com to get started.